Hello.
A
We're back for some more March Madness discussion. The Super Bowl did happen.
What
I
happened?
think.
Should we talk about it?
We could. It wasn't that interesting to me, but
Well, yeah, it wasn't, but I don't. Some of the chatter on the TikTokos here is Patriots' worst Super Bowl team of all time, and that to me feels a little far fetched. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know how you would compare that. But I mean, it was bad, right? Like
He was really bad.
they basically couldn't score a point until they were down 3 scores, and then it was kind of like obviously Seattle's not going to
Yeah.
they're going to play a little bit more prevent at that point. But yeah, that was bad. I mean, so the people who were saying, the Patriots had to play the Chargers offensive line, which was terrible, and then they had to play the Broncos backup quarterback in the snow, and then what was their the Texans without Nico Collins, is like, yeah, I guess it makes sense. They had an easy road, and then they ran into a team that was healthy and super good, and that was it.
Yeah, I mean, Seattle's defense was maybe inarguably the best single unit in all of the NFL that last year, the defense, right? Like, so it makes sense that they won.
Yeah, anytime the quarterback of the winning team doesn't get the MVP, the defense was pretty good. I mean, no one on the defense got it either, but it's pretty tough to be one player make enough plays to get MVP. So
And the MVP didn't score a touchdown either. That's the other thing. Like he just had 135 yards, I think, and something like 40 receiving yards, which is great. Like, great. I mean, that was the engine of their offense for sure. But
I mean, the kicker was in the discussion, right?
Yeah. Well, it was what, 12? He had all of the points like before a touchdown was scored. Like he just.
But it was. I don't think it was windy, and he didn't really have long kicks,
No.
so it was like you can't give it to the kicker unless he's banging 55-yarders, right?
No, and then I heard somebody was even talking maybe the punter should have got it because he was so accurate and had so many coffin corners in that game.
So that dude is, I think, the best best punter in the NFL. Like he does some stuff that and he just laughs afterwards, and you're like, oh, hold on, were you trying to do that? And like he was trying to do that. Like he's just so good at what he does.
Field position matter. I think it's really easy to lose sight of that when you're talking about football, but field position totally fucking matters. Like
absolutely.
be able to control it like that,
especially when your defense is that good, right?
Yeah,
it's like, okay, go get 7 first downs, go get 6 first downs, and see if you can score. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, so much for defensive coaches.
Well, so is that now the blueprint? Because this is the copycat league, right? So is now everybody gonna abandon offense and they're gonna drill down on defense?
No, definitely not.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, they just, I don't know. I mean, they were just the most balanced, consistent, healthy team, I guess.
Yeah. Were the Vikings in the Super Bowl if they had kept Sam Darnold?
No.
No. Okay.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, Kenneth Walker is better than Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like Hawkinson should be better than he was. Like I don't know. It's hard to say if it's the quarterback or not. I guess, but who else? I mean, obviously Jefferson and Njigba are probably a wash, depending who you talk to. And then I guess I don't know. Like maybe the Vikings. I don't know. Is Addison better than Cooper Kupp? That's probably a wash. But I don't know. I mean, the Seahawks, Vikings defense probably finished top 5, and Seahawks were number 1. So obviously that matters. There was just times where Darnold didn't have to do much. And when the pressure's off and you don't have to score a lot, it's just a whole different game.
And he had no turnovers. He had no turnovers in that game, which I think, that had been the stigma against him and what killed him last year in those final few games. He just, turned into a turnover machine. He was a bit of a turnover machine at the end of this past regular season. So, I mean, everything just came together for him.
Yeah. So that division's pretty interesting now. If the Niners can stay healthy, Stafford's coming back for another year. Now the Seahawks have a target on their back. the West and the North and the NFC are going to be super interesting just because like there's a lot of dynamics with what happened and what people expected to happen, and teams not normally winning those divisions have won, and so now it's there's more pressure, and other teams are hungrier again. So it'll be, well, like I say, the NFL is always it's hard, it's impossible to screw it up, but like those storylines are kind of interesting heading into next year.
For sure.
All right.
Basketball.
Yeah. College basketball.
Woo!
Last night there were 3 top 10 teams that lost.
Ay, ay, ay.
Illinois lost at home to Wisconsin.
In overtime, their second overtime game.
Yeah. Nebraska lost at home in overtime to Purdue.
We needed that win. Super needed.
I mean, both those teams are really good. Like that's less of a shock. But yeah, Illinois losing at home to Wisconsin, and then TCU beat Iowa State. So TCU is actually sort of on the bubble. So that win, like I think they're like 15-10, but I just have the bracket matrix up over here. So this isn't updated as of today, but they were like kind of barely on the radar as far as like they have a chance if they keep playing well to make it. But a win like that against a borderline 1 seed, 2 seed is going to do a lot. So like I think that'll jump them into the conversation, maybe first 4 out at this point. And I don't know who they have left to play. The Big 12 is tough. Like I guarantee they have a couple games against ranked opponents coming up. So if you're a TCU fan, you probably got to get to like 18 or 19 wins, and you're probably going to have to beat another ranked team or 2 to get in. But I haven't really thought about if the bubble is soft this year. I guess I would kind of say it seems like it is, but I haven't really analyzed that much. So before tonight's games, the last team in would have been Missouri, and the first team out, according to this, would have been Ohio State. So let's just look at that real quick. So Missouri's a 52 in the Ken Palm, and Ohio State is 42. I don't know. I guess that's pretty normal for teams on the bubble, kind of in that range, like 35 to 60, as far as like their overall like pure ranking, as I'll call it. Yeah. So as it gets closer, obviously, things start to shape up a little bit more. One thing that's interesting. So I think last week I said the 1 seeds have kind of distanced themselves, and like, it's not really a question of like who should be a 1 seed or not. Well, so what happens right after I say that? Arizona loses, Duke loses, and UConn loses. So I still think, well, according to this, Michigan, Arizona, Duke, and UConn are still the 1 seeds if it ended right now. But they kind of fell a little bit closer to that 2 line, I think, by losing games. So Duke lost at North Carolina. It's a tough game. It's a rivalry game. North Carolina's ranked, so not a huge deal. But.
Yeah, and Hubert Davis seems to kind of have Duke's number a little bit. He has won there and beaten Duke in some pretty great games. I mean, he beat Krzyzewski in Krzyzewski's last game, and
right.
I don't know. That one is sort of a wash every year.
Right. And yeah, I mean, like North Carolina's ranked. It was at home, right? Like they're better than they have been. There's sometimes this rivalry game, like one team's not even ranked, and they're, it's like, but both teams are very solid. Obviously, Duke is probably going to get a 1 seed, and North Carolina is around the 4 or 5 line. So North Carolina beats Duke, and then of course, what does a team do after they're on a high after winning a huge, like the biggest game on their schedule so far? Then they lose. So they lost last night to Miami. So I still think, I don't know, they could definitely, North Carolina, if they keep playing better, they could probably get a 4 seed, maybe even a 3 if they, basically win out. But they're kind of stuck around that 3 to 5 line, I guess. The one team who's kind of been steady and hasn't really lost at the top is Houston. So they're right, according to this, they're the first 2 seed. So I got to believe Houston's still got to play Kansas. They have to play Arizona, I think. So, like if Houston can beat those two teams, they're going to definitely get a 1 seed because their strength of victory is just going to be stronger. Like the ACC just isn't as good top to bottom as the Big 12. So
Houston has to play Iowa State, Arizona, and Kansas back to back, and all before the month ends.
and a 1 day rest between Arizona and Kansas.
Yep.
That's going to be, I mean, that obviously is going to kind of determine, where this shakes out. But
I mean, that's incredible.
two of them are road games too, yeah.
And they're all in the top 10. All in the top 10. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Illinois lost last night as a 2 seed. So I don't know. Like they do have a pretty strong resume. They probably still on the 2 line, even though that was kind of a bad loss for them.
I mean, I think they're at 5 losses right now. And
Yeah.
if they get to 6 or 7 losses, they're not going to be a 2 seed.
Yeah. Yeah. They're one of those teams that is kind of tough to seed in a way too, because they do have more losses than some of these teams.
Yep.
But if you look at some of the other metrics and like strength of victory and stuff, they're maybe a little bit better. So they're kind of a wild card sort of.
They're a Brad Underwood team is always going to be mercurial. They'll always be high on talent, and I think a little less on the tactical side of things. And so I just in those situations in those close games, I think it's harder to. I mean, they can still win them, but I think it's a lot harder.
Yeah. So Illinois, Iowa State, Nebraska all lost last night.
Yeah.
As 2 seeds. Kansas just came off. They're the only team to beat Arizona. So
Huge
they're the
win.
top 3 seed here. So there's going to be some shuffling around for sure. Purdue just wins at Nebraska. That's a huge win.
Needed.
Michigan State just beat Illinois on Saturday. And so I'm going through like the 3 seeds as it stands right now. So 2 seeds trending down, 3 seeds trending up. So it's just going to make it a mess trying to kind of figure out who goes on what line. But again, there's a full month until the bracket gets released. So a lot of shuffling is definitely going to happen. Another team that is kind of like moving up the ranks is Arkansas. So they're ranked again. They just won on the road. I don't know who it was. They blew someone out last night, but they're kind of a wild card with Calipari, right? They're like all you got to do is play really well at the right time. So I wouldn't be surprised if they kept playing well and got up to maybe even like a 4 seed. They're shows that they're the top 6 seed at this point. So, who else? Do we need to do a Miami, Ohio check-in? No, I don't think we talked enough about them last week. What else do we got? How's Santa Clara looking? They were the best team not in. They're 39th.
21-5.
21-5, 39th in the Ken Palm, obviously. They play in the West Coast Conference, so they only really have
St. Mary's and Gonzaga.
Right. So I think they still have to play at least one of those 2 teams, and then obviously they'll play them again in their tournament. So that'll be interesting to see. Actually, let me see where they're at. Are they in or out at this point?
So they play Gonzaga Saturday.
Okay.
That's the next game.
According to the bracket matrix, Santa Clara actually would be in at this point. They'd be last 4 in. So,
I mean, they beat St. Mary's. They've already lost to Gonzaga once. They've really not played anybody outside of their. I mean, they beat Xavier. I guess Xavier's a good. They beat Minnesota. Minnesota. They beat Loyola Chicago.
Juggernaut.
Not having a good year this year. Pretty terrible, in fact. Yeah, I mean, Gonzaga this Saturday, and then they get to play St. Mary's again. I don't know. I mean, they need to probably, if they lose to Gonzaga, that's probably not a big deal. But if they win out and do well in the tournament, their tournament.
This is kind of I don't know if it's a conundrum, but like, do you let in a team from a weaker conference that simply didn't really have a lot of opportunities to beat great teams, right? You have 2 good teams in your conference, basically. Do you let a team in like that's 21-5, or do you take a major conference team that was middle of the pack, finished 18-11. And maybe like you look at some of the advanced metrics, maybe they're not quite as good. So that's the tough call usually.
Would you rather watch Ohio State or Santa Clara? I'd rather watch Santa Clara.
I would always rather take the team that's higher in the KenPom rankings because that is predictive. That tells you like who has a better chance of winning.
And
But they're very close. So Santa Clara is 39, Ohio State's 42. Yeah. So you could make a case for either one. One of the other things we were talking about was so Wisconsin beat Illinois at Illinois yesterday. They also are the only team to beat Michigan this year, and that was at Michigan. So they're showing as a 9 seed before last night's win. So they're one of those teams that's like, what do you do with them? They have two of the biggest wins of anyone really all year, but
I mean, they've got to be ranked after that, right? Like would have to crack the top 25 after that one.
Well, I don't know. What's their record? They might have some. They must have some
17-7. I think they're 17-7 or something.
They're probably fringe being ranked, but
yeah, 17-7.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but yeah, a team like that, it's a complete wild card, right? Like consistency's not there, but if they show up on a given night, right, they have the talent to beat the best teams in the country. So
I mean, a lot of their losses are against ranked teams. A ranked BYU team, Nebraska, Purdue. I mean, they lost to Villanova, but
Villanova's a tournament team, though.
Yeah, and the USC, I don't think is USC a tournament team.
They are on the
they're
just barely, yeah.
So all their losses are against tournament teams. They got some great wins. Now they're going to have to play. They're playing Michigan State on Friday. So
and then Ohio State's on the bubble, I guess.
Yeah.
At Ohio State, Wisconsin's not on the bubble. Like they're most likely going to make it.
I mean, that would be weird if they hit 20 wins. They're a tournament team, right? Like I mean, and from a conference like the Big Ten with 20 victories. It would be very, very again wins against Michigan and Illinois at Illinois. You couldn't leave them out, right?
I mean, there's been teams that have gotten in with 17 wins, right? Like I think UCLA got in the tournament with 17 wins because they had some really good wins. So like Wisconsin probably only needs 18 or 19, which is kind of crazy. Without a bad loss. Granted, if they only get to 18 or 19, they're going to have a bad loss because their schedule's not.
No, it's really easy. Yeah.
But yeah. Other teams. So like St. Louis is kind of a wild card. Like I think they only have 1 or 2 losses or maybe 3. So another bad conference. But they're blowing teams out. So it's kind of like, where do you seed a team like that? They're showing as a 7 seed at this point. Where are they at in the old KenPom rankings? They are 24. So, like, how does that stack up? Well, that's better than like a North Carolina who just beat a Duke, right? So when teams don't play a tough schedule, it's kind of hard to know how good they are. But again, these KenPom rankings tell you how good they are. Like, if teams that are right next to each other in the KenPom rankings played right now on a neutral court, it would be basically a pick 'em as far as the line on the game and like who's expected to win. So
Florida, very similar record to Wisconsin, but they're ranked 14th. So Florida right now is 17-6, and they're 14th in the country. Now they do have losses to Duke and UConn on back-to-back games, and a loss to Arizona. They've beaten 3 ranked teams: Georgia, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Alabama.
That's another thing. So we talk about like the top 25 rankings. Yeah. So the top 25 is a lot more. What have you done for me lately? Whereas like the seeding in the tournament, they try to look at the full picture. Now, if you're playing really well and you beat some really good teams at the end of the year, it does carry a little bit more weight. But like, why is a team that's 17-6 with a similar resume to Florida maybe not ranked right now? It's because they've lost games recently, right? Yeah. Like, if you lose recently, you kind of fall out. And I don't know. It is what it is. Like, don't put a lot of stock in like the top 25. Like, if you want to know who's really actually good, go to the Ken Palm rankings. It will tell you. Like, so after that loss, so Michigan is top dog in the Ken Palm rankings. Arizona's right behind them. Duke's right behind them, and then it drops off a little bit. But you got Houston, Florida, Illinois, Iowa State, UConn, Purdue, and Michigan State rounding out the top 10. Um, I don't know. Did I ask you last week who you like? If you had to pick one team, like who do you think's going to do it?
I mean, you didn't, but at this point, I would probably say Michigan. But I really like what Arizona is doing, and they're just fresh off a loss. But he's come in. That coach is and has rebuilt a program that was a little bit scandal plagued, had a bit of a dip, but then he's got them. Man, he's got them running on all cylinders.
Yeah, Arizona looks like if you watch them play, I said this last week, but the eye test, like they're just like really athletic and super good. And there's like they weren't going to win every game. No one's going to go undefeated. It's just too tough.
Yeah.
So like losing at Kansas, even though Kansas's best player was out that game, but still like Allen Fieldhouse, like against Kansas, who's playing really well, like that was a tough spot for sure. The one thing, so like I don't know if I had to pick just one team. I don't know who I would pick. So Michigan. Who's Michigan's coach again? What's his name?
Dusty May.
Dusty May. So he's made a national final, right? So with Florida Atlantic.
So like nobody. I mean, they're never going to make that final again. Like, I mean, it's
with how good they are and how much of a matchup problem they are, and like him being able to draw on some of that coaching experience from being in a final. I think obviously they're one of my top couple if I had to pick one. I mean, Arizona again, would have a very good chance. Like they'd be in my top 3 or 4 for sure. Duke, I think they're a little bit too like when we get to March, we talk about like senior or like upperclassmen guard play. Like, can you handle some adversity if a team that's not as good as you like goes on a little bit of a run? And some teams kind of fold up and they can't handle that. I don't know. I mean, like Duke's a blue blood and they're I think well coached, but they don't. So like, I think only one of their guards really is a junior or senior. So I wonder, some of their better players sometimes are front court players, or this year I would say that's maybe true. So I don't know when it comes down to it. I don't know if Duke quite has what it takes, but I mean, if they just take care of business the rest of the regular season in the ACC and don't lose to bad teams, they're probably going to get a 1 seed. And you get a 1 seed, it makes your road so much easier.
I mean, they were a Final Four team last year. They didn't, they didn't miss a beat in the transition from Krzyzewski to Shire, and that's not nothing, right? Like, it just isn't because a lot of times that handoff does not work.
Shire,
there it is, dude. The portmanteau. And similarly with UNC, I think that's actually really incredible given the nature of that rivalry, the fact that they both transitioned roughly around the same time, and they sort of just really naturally eased into successive coaches. I mean, you can't underestimate within the tournament like lethal guard play. I think we've seen it several times over the last, I don't know, the life of the tournament. If you get the hot hand, right, you can win. I think Kemba Walker is probably the best example of that in recent memory. But I think one of the other reasons that I like Michigan, they're just big, got size. They've got 2 guys over 7'1" on their roster. And I mean, size matters, especially in basketball. I don't know. I like Dusty May, and I like his roster, and I like the way he coaches.
Yeah, I'm with you. And then so at the 4 and the 5 are in the Ken Palm rankings are Houston and Florida. I mean that those 2 teams played in the national championship last year, so I don't know how you don't talk about them. I mean, like honestly, when it comes down to it, Houston might be kind of my number one on like who's going to win it. They're playing really well lately. They've Uzan or however you say it played in the tournament played in the national championship game last year. So did Tugler. So did Sharp, right? Like,
Were they injured? Did they have a major injury last year? Or was that two tournaments ago?
2 years ago when
Was
their point guard went out. Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
So like, I don't know. They're a matchup nightmare too. Like they play so physical. So absolutely they're going to be in the mix. And I think we'll see how the rest of the season in the Big 12 goes. But like they're 22-2. Like they could absolutely get a 1 seed. Like if it were up to me, I would give Houston a 1 seed over a UConn or a I don't know, an Iowa State or who else is kind of in the mix for that. But yeah, so Houston, Florida, Illinois, we kind of talked about them. I don't know, they can beat anyone, but they can also, have a letdown. Like I just don't see them when it gets to the tournament. I don't see them winning 6 straight where they don't have that letdown. I just don't think they're quite consistent enough. But who knows? Iowa State's another team that's had a lot of success the last few years, and they have Tam and Lipsy as their point guard, and he's got like more starts than 99% of other player. Like he's a senior, so
Can we just go back to Houston for 1 second? They've had Houston. This is not Duke or Kansas or fucking Villanova. Last year, #1 seed in the tournament. 2 years ago, #1 seed in the tournament. 3 years ago, #1 seed in the tournament. 4 years ago, 5th seed in the tournament. 5 years ago, 2 seed in the tournament, and then there wasn't one in. I mean, fucking Kelvin Sampson has built a juggernaut in Houston, and they've been knocking on the door for years.
right.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. A lot will, like I said, if you get a 1 seed versus a 2 seed, and you just think about it, okay, so you're playing a 16. Okay, 2 16s have won, great, but it's probably not happening this year, right? So you're playing a 16 instead of a 15. Like, so if you're a 2, you're playing a 15 now. 15-2, a lot more of those have happened. So definitely a tougher game if you're a 2. Then you go, are you playing an 8 or a 9, or are you playing a 7-10, right? Like having to win just a little bit tougher game all the way through definitely matters. So I think it definitely can be important who gets the 1 seeds versus the 2 seeds and on down the line. So again, if Houston gets a 1, I think they're definitely a front runner to win it. Who else? UConn is a 1, but they're only 8th in the KenPom rankings. They're always, I don't know. I think Hurley's one of the best coaches. I've said that before. So like they're definitely in the mix. But if UConn played Michigan right now in a neutral court, they'd be about a 5.5 to 6 point underdog. So they're not really like top tier if you look at like pure metrics. But again, there's a month before March Madness, so they could absolutely continue to play better down the stretch.
I mean, Dusty May has made a final, but Hurley's got 2 titles back to back. I mean, at some point that experience has to come into play from a coaching standpoint. Just a slight edge there.
Right. So a few other teams to talk about. So Vanderbilt's had a really good year.
Yeah.
They're 13th in the KenPom, 20-4. I think they have a really good coach. He hasn't made like deep runs. I think he maybe coached Grand Canyon or one of those teams that made a Sweet 16 or maybe won a game and almost made a Sweet 16. So I don't know that it's their year this year, but I mean, your top, you're 13th in the KenPom rankings. Obviously, like you could make some noise. Nebraska's sitting there at 14. They've never won a tournament game. So if they can get 1 under their belt, they absolutely could make some noise. I mean, if you watch them, they don't have. Last night was the most I've seen them struggle over an extended period. Like they were down by 15 with like 8 or 10 minutes left, and then they finally turned it on. But they have a lot of shooters, and they just like play disciplined. So I could see them, making a Sweet 16 or even an Elite 8 if they play really well. Arkansas is sitting there on the rise with a great coach, right?
Historically good coach. Yep.
Tennessee's sitting there with they've been up and down.
Barnes.
They're only 16-7, but like, is
Tournament
anyone going
team.
to be
Yeah.
super surprised if they make the Elite Eight? Like, I mean, they've played really well the last two tournaments.
And look at Virginia too. Virginia having a bit of a resurgence after Tony Bennett left.
Yeah, if I were to tell y'all or ask you without looking how many losses Virginia has this year, you would say more than 3, but it's only 3.
And they're in the ACC. That's not
What did
nothing.
you say about Tony Bennett?
Tony Bennett, he was their coach. He
before,
left. Yeah, he left. Like right last year, right before the season started. Right, so they were scrambling and they didn't miss a beat. And Virginia, not a historically great program. I mean, they had some noise in the early '80s with, I think it was Ralph Sampson, right? But not great until Tony Bennett got there and turned them into a national champion. And then he left suddenly, and they've rebounded quite nicely.
Yeah, and then so Alabama's sitting there just below that. They've made I think a Final Four and an
Yes.
Elite Eight or two outside of that recently. Texas Tech made I think the Elite Eight last year, if not the Sweet 16. So they've got some experience. You got Patino and St. John sitting there.
Dude, they just beat UConn last week.
Yeah. Who else? Kentucky's kind of started to move up these rankings a little bit. They're sitting there at 28. North Carolina just beat Duke. I don't think they have what it takes to win it all, but there's some teams kind of in that second tier that like there's going to be one of those teams that we just kind of mentioned that is going to make an Elite Eight, maybe even a Final Four, because they're good enough to do it, and you just have to be playing well at the right time. Yeah, what else we got? I don't know if there's any team we haven't talked about that really has a legitimate chance to. Well, Gonzaga is a team that I didn't really talk about. I don't know that they're just don't seem consistent enough this year to do it, but they have 2 losses, right? And one of them is to Michigan. So, I mean, again, I absolutely won't be surprised if they made a Final Four. I don't know that they quite have it this year.
It's hard with Gonzaga every year because they play in such a weak conference. So after the non-conference schedule is over, it becomes really difficult to judge how competitive they're really going to be when it comes to the tournament because the level of competition, it just isn't the same. And St. Mary's is a perennial bubble tournament team, but that's kind of it coming out of that conference. What I think a few years ago, San Francisco was good, goodish. But so it's just, you just kind of never know. You just assume they're going to be good, but it's really hard to say how far they're going to get in the tournament. And they haven't had great tournament success. I mean, Few made a championship game and lost to Roy Williams, I don't know, like a decade ago. But it's harder. With something like if you're in the Big Ten, the Big 12, the ACC, every night in the non-conference, there's going to be a more competitive game. And then you're going to play against top-tier talent. So it's just hard to understand Gonzaga this far into the season.
Right. Mark Few has to be definitely one of the best coaches to never win one. And I don't know, like he's not super old, but you wonder
I'd be in his 60s.
How long he wants to coach. Like I don't know. I tend to pull for Gonzaga more than some people do. Some people just like the Power 5 teams, but I think he deserves to get one before it's all done, but maybe not quite this year. Michigan State, we didn't really talk too much about. They just beat Illinois. Yeah. They're sitting there at 10. They're 20-4. Like Izzo,
Izzo.
They could absolutely make a run.
You think if he wins another one, you think he retires? Like just sort of immediately?
He probably should. He's one of those guys who has looked like he was 55 for like 30 years.
Yep.
Right? Like he just doesn't look like he ages, but he's got to be 60s.
Oh,
right?
Dude, I bet he's pushing 80. I bet he's in his late or early 70s.
Maybe.
He's 71. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
but you're right, man. He does look like, and that's young Izzo.
Right.
I think I had that tie.
Yeah. So I don't know. The more I talk about this, there's kind of a little bit of a story to go with a lot of these teams. Yeah. I mean, like there's 20 teams in the top 30 KenPom rankings that, they either have a really good coach, but maybe they're not having as good of a season as normal, or You know, like there's a store that they've had success lately. They've made a deep run but haven't quite won it. So again, just like the NFL, it's hard to screw up like college basketball,
Yeah.
right? Like there's just a lot of good teams and yeah.
So let me just say this. Do you think this is the year, another year where all the one seeds make the Final Four? Because that happened last year.
I think there's enough parity where it absolutely could happen.
These look like killer
but
number ones. Like it looks like real.
I'm gonna say,
heat of
I mean, you
talent.
just start like
Yeah.
thinking about the actual odds of that. I'm gonna say it doesn't happen. Like
Yeah.
there's gonna be like let's just look at this real quick. Who's on the 2 line? Now, granted, this bracket matrix is not updated as of today because there's a lot of numbers to crunch, but right now the 2 line is Houston, Illinois, Iowa State, Nebraska, and then it goes Kansas, Purdue, Michigan State, Florida. If you're gonna try to tell me that none of those teams is gonna make a Final Four, like 6 of those 8 teams are playing really well right now. Like it would just be tough for all the ones to do it. But I don't know. It's happened at least twice in the last. Well,
It was, I think, 08 or 07 was the last time it happened before last
yeah,
year.
it was Memphis, Kansas, North Carolina,
Yeah.
and someone else.
Yeah,
I think
something like that. Yeah. But yeah.
So yeah, just the odds of that actually happening is pretty tough. But um, I don't. It's not going to be a year where a 1 seed is like definitely undeserved. I think there's been years where like, well, go back to the RPI when the RPI was used to seed this tournament, it was way different than it is now. I mean, you had teams that had no business being on the seed line that they were, just because they beat because they had a lot of wins basically.
UCLA was the other team.
In
And
whatever.
08. And it's
08.
only happened twice since the tournament expanded to 64 teams in 85. So 08 and last year.
So I'm gonna say no, it's not gonna happen. But
Yeah,
I'm
probably not. But I mean, that's a lot of talent at the top end. But again, when you read off the second, like again, we just spent some time talking how amazing Houston has been over the last several years. And hard to count them out too, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I mean, it every week it changes.
Yeah,
Obviously, these
volatility.
teams are shuffling around.
It's good for the college basketball fan.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Mhm.
Okay, let's go real quick.
Yeah.
Let's go over. Do you have like tonight's matchups? Like, I
Yeah.
think there's some ranked games.
Not as good as last night, but not bad. So today we've got Michigan is playing Northwestern, which is not a ranked matchup.
But it is a road game. You never really know.
That's true. UConn, no matchup against ranked teams, but UConn's playing Butler and Texas Tech is playing Colorado.
Okay.
So 3 ranked teams in the top 20, or the 3 teams in the top 25.
So Michigan on the road, UConn on the road against a team with a winning record, and then Texas Tech is at home. So they, I mean, they
And then-
shouldn't struggle with Colorado.
No, but then Clemson is playing Virginia Tech and Florida is playing Georgia also.
So Florida at Georgia, I think that's probably somewhat of a rivalry game. Georgia was
Same record.
Georgia was ranked at one point
They
this
were.
year, and Florida actually blew the doors off them
Mhm.
when Florida was unranked and Georgia was ranked. So that is a very interesting game tonight.
Yep.
Like Georgia, you'd have to think is going to play pretty competitively, although they have the spread at 9.5. That seems like a lot for
Mhm.
for a home Georgia team that might be a little hungrier. Yeah, and then obviously every Saturday from here on out, there's 100 or more games, so you're going to get a lot of
Yeah.
jostling amongst the field. All right, any other hot takes before we bow out? Watch the bubble. TCU just had a huge win. Can they kind of keep moving up? Oklahoma State just had a bad loss. They were kind of barely out. I think they just beat like BYU or something like that. So they're moving up. Now they took a step back. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how the bubble shakes out. Okay, maybe we'll be back next week or maybe we won't. We'll let you know. Bye.
See.